Hey kids, it's your favorite Uncle Urchin here. On the other side of things is my boy Lobster Nuts. Earlier we went to a toy museum and we're kicking it. A lot of cool stuff to see. Classic Predator, Alien toys from Kenner, a vintage 1970s original Alien large scale. A lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a whole room dedicated to Star Wars, a whole room dedicated to G.I. Joe. So yeah, good times. While we were there, scored a few items. If you know anything about me, you know that I'm a big fan of toys. Toy boy for life, can't stop myself. Got myself a nice little red in package Boba Fett. I scored this awesome free The Action Bible, The Battle Begins, The Story of Creation, featuring some very cool art, not too shabby, free, couldn't pass it up. I love stuff like this. Got a few of the old school McDonald's toys from the original Spider-Man series. I also got this great 1994 Toy Biz black and red Spider-Man with some pretty cool articulation. I've got a friend whose birthday is tomorrow, as a matter of fact, so I picked this up for her to go with. I got this card here, Miles Morales, with some Carnage business going on the inside. Got a little Spider-Man theme. This fun Spider-Man game I clipped out of a Raisin Bran box in a cool pencil case. Just nerdy little stuff, you know, so that'll go with that. I got the old duo of Toka and Razor. Very formidable match here. I'm a big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, probably my favorite of all franchises in media. Also got this cool Usagi Yojimbo from Stansaki, part of the Playmates Ninja Turtle toy line. So you might have noticed that he's missing a hand, right? Sometimes you get these great deals and you find yourself in a situation where you can salvage it. So a while ago, a friend of mine gave me this really beat up Usagi. As you see, he's got his hand still. There's a bit of a color difference, but hopefully with some industrial strength peroxide, we can get him right back to white and he won't look so funny with his hand on. But let's just take a look to see how that came together. Yeah, not too bad. A little discolored, but I think he might fight again. Another great score. It's a Walmart over 50% off manufacturer's suggested retail. Box Blaster. Box sales only. Do not open. So this is one of those, you know, I think it's all the cards in the one box. I'm not entirely certain, but we're going to just bust it open and check it out. I've got a few of these loose cards that Mr. Lobster Nuts himself gave me recently, and so after stumbling across this, it was kind of like, all right, well, let's see what's going on here. They're pretty cool, like oversized, sort of weird shaped. Box has a little bit of wear, not too bad though, you know, considering they've been kicking around since, geez, what's the year on this thing? 95, so yeah, they've been around a while. Just kicking it, shelf to shelf. All right, cool. So we got some packs here. We got a bunch of packs. What do you think, Lobster? You want to bust one open?
Let's bust them out.
All right, let's see what the first one has in store for us. So this is always fun, opening up some cards. You know, some people are all about the value. I'm really about enjoying what I have here. So it looks like we've got some of that great classic Todd McFarlane art. Man, these are great. Note the awkward size, though. I wish I had a regular card to kind of set them against, but you can just see that they're kind of narrow, more like bookmark sort of shaped. Yeah, I haven't seen any of these ones. Maybe this one, but I've also got the comic, so it's hard to tell where it blends. Yeah, very cool. So this is a pretty good haul for today, I think. A couple of really good condition Ninja Turtle figures. You know, a third one still in pretty reasonable condition. So yeah, sometimes you find yourself in a position where if you see a figure, it's a little bit beat up, but it's worth the price of grabbing because you might be able to pick another reasonably priced figure up and mash them back together and get yourself a pretty awesome collection. I'm currently trying to rebuild the one I had as a kid, and boom. All right, so we just unveiled our first pack. Got the foil. We got our art cards, all of which are from the first 25 issues of the Spawn comic book, and allegedly give a first look at his new costume of the time. Again, these are from what year?
95?
95. Yeah, you're right. That's what I was thinking. All right, so these are from 95. Let's see what else we got here. Busting open our packs. Kind of nice to salvage the pack. I don't know why. Just don't like to tear right into it. Look at that old school Todd art. You know, it had a very specific look. Definitely watched him grow as an artist, but at the same time, it's always managed to stay very McFarlane. Look at this. Love those colors, the purple and green. Medieval Spawn happens to be one of my favorite characters. That original look, so awesome. Yeah, just some great stuff. Fun, epic. You know, one of the things that's great about the comic book versus, say, the cartoon or the movie is that even though it was dark, it was still very comic booky. You know, the HBO series kind of took some of that away. For instance, Overkill became a little more grounded, seemed a little more realistic. They took those bright colors away. But the comic book has all of those bright colors, the really comic book style costumes. And that's actually one of the nice things that kind of separate the comic book from the cartoon, because it gives you that fresh quality. You know, you read the comic book, you feel like you're reading a comic book. You watch the cartoon, it feels a little more street, a little more gritty. You watch the movie, well, I'm not really going to go into the movie other than the fact that John Leguizamo was pretty baller as Clown, and the fact that I hope this new Spawn movie is a lot better. So with Todd McFarlane directing, you know, we'll see what happens. Jamie Foxx as Al Simmons, you know, I'm not a hater. I like Jamie Foxx, all right. He might be a pretty good fit. So it's just a matter of seeing how it comes out. But yeah, back to the cards. Look at this stuff. Look at these colors. It was really different for that time. You know, the 90s just brought in a very edgy double. I think this is our first double so far. We've opened up 4 packs. And I think that's the first one. So it'll be fun going through and seeing let me finish that thought. Fun seeing how many doubles and how long it takes to complete this set. Billy Kincaid. Evil incarnate. Look at that card. So awful. If you're familiar with the Spawn mythology, you know exactly why. If you're not familiar with the Spawn mythology, just take a look at this evil ice cream man and these children, and then go out and pick up the first volume of Spawn and see what kind of debauchery and evil this character brings upon the world. Such a great villain. All right, so let's see. 4 packs in. I think only 1 double so far. There's 150 cards. I haven't really been paying attention to how many we've got going on as far as the numbering goes. Because we're just enjoying the ride, having a conversation about Spawn, seeing what's up. these types of things are really fun. Getting to relive a little bit of the past, you know. It's important to live in the present, but it's nice to kind of stir up some old memories sometimes with nostalgia items like this. Wanda Simmons. I think we got some. Oh, what's Terry's last name? Fitzgerald? Does that sound right, Lobster?
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Look at this art. That's a great card right there. The lightning, the posing. The use of shadows is pretty cool. Be coupled with the bright colors. It's kind of an interesting quality that they have. It seems like maybe there's some other artists. I've kind of tried to take note of who, you know, the signatures at the bottom of these cards, and it seems like some of them have other artists on it, but I might be mistaken. The original Spawn look, you know, if you're not overly familiar with the character, it was really peculiar. I remember my first exposure was really the HBO series and the trailer. I remember seeing the trailer for the movie and thinking it was really cool. This was back in like 1998 probably, and you know, I saw the HBO series on VHS. They basically cut the first season into a movie, and when I first started checking out the comic books, I was not used to this kind of stitched up look. It was very peculiar to me, and even so, as familiar as I am with it, it's still a kind of a funny look. So they ditched that after the first so many issues, maybe the first 25, when Spawn got his new look. He just became craggy and no longer carried those stitches in his face. The Violator, I might have seen this card, but it's kind of hard telling. I'm so familiar with the art, having read the comics multiple times over, that, you know, some of it's just overly familiar. And you see that same character in similar poses, you know. Like I may have said earlier, I'm not like a huge card collector, but I am a fan of Spawn, and I thought these were pretty cool. Lobster got me a few random cards that he had stumbled across, and then seeing this box just made me want to check it out. That's definitely a double. We got that one in our first pack. Oh, we got that one in our first pack. We got that one in one of our first few packs, and I think we got that one as well. So now that's a few doubles right there. I think these 4 cards are fresh. Man alive. That's a lot of packs to go through. Who even knew? I've never sat and opened a whole box of trading cards before. I don't know if I've acknowledged it. Oh, Billy. This evil man right on top. We've got some info on the back here. Mr. Chili. Card 27. He's the neighborhood ice cream man. Everybody likes ice cream, and everybody likes Mr. Chili. But this Mr. Chili is Billy Kincaid, and his smile hides a heart full of depravity and evil. Billy kills children. He preys on the kids who gather around his truck and offers free ice cream to a special few who are never seen again. Wow. Wow. Art by Gary Capuis? I don't know how to... I'm sorry. I'm so uncultured. I really don't know what language that is or how to pronounce P-I-S-Z altogether. So... this is the artist on it. Looks really good. Yeah, and there's his initials. Like I said, I thought that they were different artists. It's cool to see that each one is credited at the bottom. Image Comics, which we haven't discussed at all since the beginning of this video. Image Comics came from a bunch of artists who were at Marvel at the time, and I guess they were just unhappy or looking to Malbolgia. That's a good card. Or just looking to branch out and do their own thing. I don't really recall the specifics and don't want to speak for anyone, but they decided to start their own company. And Spawn was one of the biggest big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, and eventually Image Comics would and Eric Larson would do the third volume. So yeah, they were a new company of the early 90s, just kind of really doing that 90s thing. Everything was super edgy, everything was very fresh. Yeah, that's a great one, huh? And yeah, they just took off. Spawn kind of blew up, and Todd really knew how to work it as far as the business side of things. McFarlane Toys, the Spawn comic book. He crossed over into multiple other comics due to his popularity. And McFarlane Toys has grown into a big company. It actually, if I remember correctly, started off as Todd's Toys before it became McFarlane Toys. They've done everything from Spawn to Kiss, Alice Cooper, Rob Zombie, Walking Dead in the recent past. I don't collect McFarlane Toys as hardcore as some other things I collect. I do have a few Spawn toys kicking around. That's a great one, but mostly just for nostalgia's sake and not because I'm a hardcore collector. I do love it. It's just not something I'm focusing all my time into. Yeah, but I do love this medium. It's such a good character. It's great art. Again, great colors. I wish I could take the time going through every artist with you guys, but obviously that would be a little ridiculous. If you like these cards, definitely sleuth them down. Wow, how many packs are we into it? 4, 8, 10. 10 packs in. How many is in this box? I don't know. But it's a whole box. And honestly, I don't think we've seen a lot of doubles so far. I think we've seen a lot of pretty fresh cards for the most part. Oh wow, that's a funny one. Let's read the back of this because I don't really. Led from the dungeons by a totemic animal spirit, Spawn finds the home of his greater self. He sees that in this reality, he and Wanda. Spawn wonders. The animal guide says that this is simple. His godlike creative force has not abandoned him, and that's enough to know for now. Art by Brad Gorby and Terry Beatty? Huh. This is peculiar. I don't remember that at all, but your brain fills up with so much junk after a while, it's hard to remember everything. So that's why it's nice to do the rereads every so often, reabsorb the art, reabsorb the stories. Wowza. Alright, so gonna try to pick up the pace, because who knew that unboxing all of these cards was gonna take so long. Look at this. This is a painted overkill. That's sweet. So maybe this is like
full art.
Yeah, maybe this is like the equivalent of like a rare. It's called P7. That's awesome. That's really cool. Some Salmon Twitch. I think this is maybe the first time we've seen Salmon Twitch. Some Clown turning to Violator. Very cool. Very cool. Violator Malbolgia. I'm not really sure. Oh, I think that's part of like this Hell World. Sort of remember that. If you're into comic books or like, darker content, You know, it's pretty emotionally driven stories, and it's very, you know, I'm really glad that I got to experience it at a young age. That and tales like another double, I believe. Other stories like, you know, Batman's The Dark Knight Returns, stuff like Spawn, The Crow, because these stories are really cool, and they led me to a world of different types of storytelling. As much as I love the big two, I don't really follow them anymore because everything just has become so convoluted over the years. And with some of these more independent companies, you get some really unique stories because they're trying to really step away from what has come before and create something new and create something exciting. So granted, Marvel and DC, again, have really great characters who have stood the test of time. And Image, though it's not a new company anymore, has been around since the early 90s, you know, they still were a trendsetter at that time for a different series of art. So like I said, I'm trying to pick up the pace because there are so many cards. I've seen some more doubles passing through. So, you know, we are pretty deep into the box at this point, and it's only likely another painted card. Very cool. P9. So I'm thinking those are like the rares or some sort of equivalent of that. But yeah, I think we've seen all of these cards. Again, kind of getting back into that deep in the box, more doubles, but also seeing some kind of rare stuff. These really cool painted cards. Oh, there's our boy McFarlane. Check it out. Very cool. Yeah, I really like that card. We saw that one earlier. Just a lot of really great guest artists on these cards. I didn't really realize when it said celebrating the first 25 issues of the comic book, and that first deck had several images that were right out of those first several issues. I didn't realize that there were going to be so many guest artists on here. Really cool. You know, all feels like Spawn art, but also feels unique at the same time. Had to do some shuffling to make some room. You know, when we started this little project, didn't really take into consideration how much space it was going to take up. But it is fun. I hope you guys are having as much fun as I am going through all these cards. One of the awkward things about them is you can see the dimensions. I think we may have acknowledged that earlier. So I don't know if McFarlane put out a booklet specifically for his cards. That wouldn't surprise me. That's a very good marketing tool. Yeah, so I don't have any sleeves that I can put these in, but I'm sure I'll find a spot. I'm also, again, not one of those people who are gonna, you know, lose my mind if there's a little bit of wear on the edges, because this is just for fun for me. It's a way to experience some nostalgia. Speaking of which, that is a toy Commando Spawn, and it's marked as TT1. I don't know what all of these kind of off numbered Spawn cards are all about, and I would like to learn. And I would also like, wow, very cool. Look at that. That's unique. Sam Keith. I know that art style immediately. He did the Max. He's also done like some work with Batman. And I think there was just recently some sort of crossover with the Max and Batman that I didn't check out, but I thought was a cool premise, given that he'd both deal with mental illness and have he's worked on both, and both titles that he's worked on deal with mental illness. Yeah, I would like to think that I'll get a whole set at the end of this, but I think reality set in that there's quite a few cards, and I don't know if I'll get a whole set, but, you know, fingers crossed, I'll get what I get. It's pretty cool. it's been fun anyways. All right. Ooh, Angela, very cool. I really like those kind of off cards. They're pretty sweet. Look at all this fun art. I've absorbed so much of it now, I'm starting to lose track of, you know, some images I know I've seen, some I'm like, have I seen that before? I don't know. All right. Again, I'm just going to try to pick up the pace here. So many cards. Yeah, there's our boy Billy. Angela. Angela actually, she exists in Marvel Comics now. So there's a lawsuit between Neil Gaiman, who I'm sure most of you guys, if you're watching this, are familiar with. He did Sandman, Coraline, and American Gods, I think, is a BBC show right now. So there's just like a ton of Neil Gaiman out there. Very, very prominent within the medium. And him and Todd, I think, kind of like co-created the character. She popped up in like maybe issue 9 of the original comics. And then I'm not really sure what happened. Neil felt like he didn't get paid or had stopped getting paid. They went to court. It ended up being that Neil got the rights to the character in the end, and he sold her to Marvel. And they wrote her in as Thor's sister. So yeah, Angela's now Thor's sister. Gotta tell you, not really super stoked about that. In fact, I think it's quite whack, but whatever. You know, that's comics. One of the cool things about Image Comics, while we're on the subject, is that they were very creator-owned oriented. So when a creator at Image created a character, that was their character, whereas at DC or Marvel, if you were working for that company and you created a character, it was owned by that company. And so a lot of people have found themselves shafted by the big two. And I'm not, you know, I really am not trying to talk crap about anybody. That's not really my style. You know, so I can't name people by names. This is not my deal. I've never been involved in any of these types of things, but you know, that's just part of business. Sometimes the people at the reins take advantage of certain situations. And, you know, maybe people in certain industries aren't in those industries because they love the medium. They're in it because, you know, they're tycoons of the industry, which is, you know, I'm not going to say that's a bad thing, but I'm not going to say it's a good thing either. So, yeah, it was cool. You know, Rob Liefeld, he owns his Wildcats, and, you know, Todd McFarlane owns his Spawn, and Eric Larson owns his Savage Dragon. So, yeah, and that's why it became kind of a thing with Angela, because, you know, I guess technically it was something that Neil Gaiman... Wait, have I been saying Neil Gaiman all this time? Yeah, it's Neil Gaiman. I don't know. Now I'm doubting myself. If I've ever provided misinformation during this video, you have my 100% apologies. I've already acknowledged the fact that when you've got so much stuff in your brain, it eventually becomes difficult to keep it all straight. But moving on, back to Spawn. A lot of cards. I mean, you might have noticed the various shuffles that have taken place. It's because we needed to make room on several occasions. This is another cool one. McFarlane taking an opportunity to, you know, advertise his new toy line. So, yeah, do it in card form. And you might have seen these little white cards at the very back that also acknowledges the new Spawn action figures from the year, the new Youngblood action figures, and the Wetworks action figures, which was cool that, you know, Todd's Toys, McFarlane Toys, was showing love to those other mediums, you know, those other comic books in that medium. Hopefully I don't ramble too much. Again, my apologies if at any point I'm convoluted or lie to you, because that was never my intention. I love you all, and I'd never do anything to intentionally hurt you. But sometimes, in human relationships, we hurt people, whether we meant to or not. And that's what the Spawn comic book is all about. Let's talk about Malbolgia for a second. Man, look at that guy. So good. I know I'm trying to pick up the pace, but every now and then you just gotta stop and acknowledge something. In the Spawn comics, Malbolgia is... Look at, yeah, those stained glass windows. That's another good one. Malbolgia is one of many devils of hell, and he is the devil that assassin Al Simmons made a deal with for his soul to get to see his wife Wanda once again, and in doing so becoming a ranking general in Hell's army, Hellspawn. And so, yeah, he sold his soul to the devil, and the devil, being the devil, really put it to him. Left him in hell for 5 years, returned him to Earth with little to no memory of his previous self. In that time, his wife, had a child with his best friend, which he was unable to provide, a child that is. And yeah, it's a heavy book. It deals with, it's got all those fantastical elements that if you're a comic book reader, you probably enjoy. But it's also pretty grounded in human emotion, which for me is one of the biggest things in reading a book, is I really have to feel connected to the characters and be able to relate to them on some kind of level. So even though I can't relate to having been to hell and coming back superpowered, I can relate to, loving someone, and, what would you do? What kind of lengths would you go to be reunited with someone who you love? And for all of us, that's different. And for Al Simmons, it was a matter of giving his soul to the devil to be reunited with his one true love. So here's 36 decks of cards. I thought that was kind of a funny number. But here we are with this nice empty box. I can't quite make out that stamp. I was kind of interested in it. Maybe just a lot number or something. This nice pile of trash from all of these cards that we've opened. And after I get some time and go through all of these cards, I'm going to try to see, how many of the 150 I have and kind of organize them, and we'll get to take a look at all the art. But this was a spontaneous project. We had fun doing it, and if you guys like the content that you've seen, please let us know. Let us know other stuff that you'd like to see. We're down for whatever. Just opening up some communication and some chatting, and relating to some people on some shared interests or whatever. So this has been the unboxing, and finally, I'm a trucker hat fan. I love I like the net with the nice visor or whatever. And at this toy museum, there happened to be a couple of Batman hats kicking around, this being one of the two, and this one was that trucker style, so I kind of had my eyeball on it, and I liked the patch and the neon. Sometimes trucker hats are cheaply made and they just don't fit well or whatever, and so I busted it out and I kind of take a look at it, and I looked at the tag, and the tag is 1964, so just had to have it. So this was the final score at our toy haul at the comic toy museum. I'm not really sure what the toy museum is called. I'm sorry I can't give a proper shout out. But yeah, it was fun. It was nice talking to you guys. Uncle Urchin, lobster nuts, out!